History remembers some men for their victories, and some for the terror they unleashed. One man, known as the Butcher of Prague, seemed untouchable, ruthless, cunning, and feared by millions. But what happens when two ordinary men decide to defy him? Could a single act of courage shake the foundation of a tyrant's power? This is not just a story of war, but a story of risk, rebellion, and the price of resistance. Stay with us as we reveal how fate, bravery, and an extraordinary mission collided in one of the most daring chapters of history.
Operation Anthropoid.
Are you completely mad?
You kill Heydrich and Hitler will tear Prague apart.
Act 1. The Mask. This is a photograph. A tall man in a dark uniform stands beside his wife. It is May 1942, and they are attending a concert in Prague. He enjoys music, raised around it by his father, a composer. In another life, perhaps, he might have become a violinist. Instead, history remembers him by another name, the Butcher of Prague. Reinhard Heydrich did not look like a monster. He looked like a symbol. Tall, blonde, athletic, a face that could have stepped out of a propaganda poster. But appearances are deceptive. As a boy, he was mocked for his thin, high-pitched voice. Rumors spread that he had Jewish ancestry, and classmates called him Blonde Moses. In a Germany turning toward radical nationalism, that nickname was poison, leaving deep scars. After school, Heydrich joined the German Navy. He was ambitious, disciplined, and cold, but scandal struck when a former fiancée accused him of breaking a promise to marry her. A naval court found him guilty of conduct unbecoming. Publicly humiliated, he was dismissed, stripped of career and honor. Yet failure did not end him. It redirected him. Through a connection, he met Heinrich Himmler. That meeting would forever change his life. Could childhood insecurities and public humiliation shape someone into history's most feared figures? Act 2. The Rise. Heydrich joined the SS, and what followed was meteoric. Within a few years, he became head of the Reich Security Main Office, overseeing the Gestapo, intelligence services, and secret police. He was efficient, relentless, unfeeling. In 1938, synagogues burned across Germany. Jewish businesses were shattered, and thousands were arrested during Kristallnacht. Heydrich coordinated it. In 1941, he was tasked with organizing what the regime called the final solution, turning genocide into meticulous logistics. In autumn 1941, he was sent to occupied Czechoslovakia as deputy Reich protector. The previous governor was considered too soft. Heydrich was not. Mass arrests, executions, and deportations followed. Entire resistance networks were dismantled. He ruled with calculated terror, yet traveled without armored escorts. Confident, perhaps too confident. How could someone so ruthless move so freely without fear? Act 3. The Other Side. Hundreds of miles away, two soldiers prepared for an impossible mission. Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš had watched their homeland fall to Nazi occupation and now trained in Britain under secret operations programs. Their mission was Operation Anthropoid, assassinate Reinhard Heydrich. The odds were impossible, but the symbolic value was enormous. In December 1941, they parachuted into occupied territory. Heavy snow blinded the crew, and they landed in the wrong location. Gabčík injured his foot. The mission nearly ended before it began. They buried their parachutes, took shelter in abandoned tunnels, and relied on local families who risked everything to hide them. Each knock at the door could mean death. Meanwhile, Heydrich continued his daily life. organizing deportations by day and attending concerts by night. Two worlds were moving inevitably toward collision. Would you risk everything for your country, even knowing the price might be your life? Act 4. The Plan. The assassin studied Heydrich's habits, routines, and arrogance. He refused armored convoys, traveling with only his driver. They identified a sharp curve on a Prague street where cars had to slow down, their only opening. May 27th, 1942, morning. Heydrich finished breakfast, played with his children, and left his residence. The assassins waited. Minutes stretched like hours. The Mercedes approached the curve. Gabčík stepped forward, dropped his coat, raised his Sten gun, and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The gun jammed. Months of preparation, ruined in an instant. Heydrich stood, pistol drawn. Kubiš acted, throwing a modified grenade. The explosion tore through the vehicle. Smoke filled the street. Both assassins fled. Heydrich did not die immediately. 8 days later, infection claimed his life. The mission succeeded, but the cost was only beginning. Have you ever thought how a single moment can change the course of history? Act 5. Retaliation. The Nazi regime demanded vengeance. Villages were targeted, men executed, women deported, children separated, entire communities erased. The destruction was filmed, intended as propaganda, a display of power, fear, and dominance. Meanwhile, the assassins hid in a crypt of a Prague church. 7 men, surrounded by hundreds, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Betrayal eventually exposed them. Troops stormed the building. Gunfire echoed through stone corridors. When ammunition ran out, they chose death over capture. The operation ended in silence, but its impact resonated. The bravery of a few had struck fear into the heart of one of the most feared men in history, even as innocent lives were lost. Can courage exist alongside tragedy, and is it always worth the cost? Act 6. Aftermath. The war ended 3 years later. Trials followed. Some perpetrators were executed, others denied responsibility. Memorials now stand where violence once ruled, at the ambush site in Prague and at the destroyed villages. Names carved in stone serve as reminders of bravery, sacrifice, and horror. Operation Anthropoid did not end the war. It did not stop the Holocaust, but it shattered the myth of untouchable power. Even the most feared architect of terror could fall. History remembers Heydrich not for concerts, but for the suffering he engineered, and for the men who chose to resist, not certain of victory, but refusing to accept silence. What would you do if faced with impossible odds? Stand silent or risk everything to resist?